What's happening, everybody? What's going on? I just like hanging out here in nature. That's the best way to say it. Listen, one thing I just want to drop in here real quick is that when it comes to like expecting or the educational component, one of the things that you see me doing, and the reason why I spend so much time and energy and resources educating myself, is because I understand that the very systems that were established to oppress me will not be the systems to educate me. It won't happen. And so as long as I'm walking around holding these systems in high regard, what ends up happening is I set myself up for a level of disappointment. So I can't expect the history books to tell me the truth, the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I have to expect that the history books are going to tell it in a way to promote whatever the history books, whoever wrote the history books or the curriculums, that's what they're going to want to promote, and that's what they're going to judge me by. So when you're in a system that did everything it could to withhold information from you, now all of a sudden it creates a free education system. So that's the first red flag, free education. Who's doing the educating? Who's writing the curriculums? Who's approving the curriculums? And oftentimes that comes from those in power, and either those people don't look like me or they look like me, but they're paid to make sure that I have a certain level of knowledge given and a certain level of knowledge withheld. The other thing is that when it comes to grades and all of that other kind of stuff, we have to understand that that's not a measure of intelligence. Maybe it's a measure of comprehension. Maybe you were taught something, you comprehended it. But there's some people, just the way they learn is different. So what we're trying to do is to put people in these cookie cutter boxes and saying that, okay, you're smart if you know this. If you don't do this, then you're not smart. So we're labeling people. And when we go back in history and we see what happened as far as with the imperial powers, what they would notoriously do is take people out of their indigenous systems and then put them in their imperial system, judge their intelligence based upon the imperial system, but not judge it based upon the indigenous system that the person came out of. As a result of that, the person would then be deemed as not intelligent, having a learning disability, some sort of cognitive disorder, something they would be labeled. Somehow they would be labeled along those lines, which would be unfair because the person was taken out of their indigenous environment where they may have very well been a genius. And if you take the imperial person and put them in the indigenous environment, then you would see how they would then be deemed as having cognitive issues and learning disabilities and all of that. So once I began to understand, you know, on many levels how this game was played, I said it's up to me to educate myself if I care. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people are comfortable with the status quo. A lot of people are comfortable with trying to fit in to the imperial system, into the current educational system, the prescribed educational system, and that's it. And they call themselves educated. But I'm telling you, I'm meeting more and more uneducated people who have degrees, who excel in the imperial education system. I'm meeting more and more people with that. And that's just, I mean, again, unless you know that there's more to it, then, you know, how do you even, you know, if you don't know that there's more to it, then how do you even do anything differently? So that's one of the things that I have, you know, concluded and realized in this whole process, that when you begin to get out here and learn and see, and that firsthand knowledge, that's why I'm doing the 24 videos in 24 hours. You can check this out, even if it's after June 18th, 2022. That's when it's going to be posted on the channel. 24 videos from 24 different topics, different countries that I've been to and traveled to, you'll be able to see on the channel, because I want people to have at least a visual to understand, you know, there's more to this education system than what they're teaching us. The one thing that you'll walk away with from those videos is that no place that I was in was I afraid of other people. Nowhere in none of those videos you'll be able to see, well, wait a minute, that's Africa? Wow, that's Africa? Yeah, this is Africa, that's right. And so that's, again, if we don't take our own education into our own hands and process information without the influences of you know, all of these different entities and powers, then we will find ourselves at a loss on so many different levels. So again, don't expect the oppressor to give you the keys to the kingdom. They'll give you enough of a key so you can get in the door and work and make them wealthy, but they're not going to give you the keys so you can overthrow them. They're not going to tell you all the secrets. They're not going to tell you how do you build these buildings and these multi-million-dollar buildings, and nobody, no, you're building them in a city with all these brown people, but nobody brown is a part of that construction project. Or how do you go into an all black community, if you will, and you're not even from there? You're Iranian, you're Korean, but somehow you can go set up shop in those communities. The people will bring you the money. They won't even question it. How can that happen? Now that goes back to the people too. You know, where does the mindset come that this is a trend all over the United States, but not just the United States, a trend all over Africa too. You'll see the Lebanese setting up shop, the Chinese setting up shop in all these different places. And it's not that the brown people or the indigenous people are completely absent, but when you start looking at those larger projects and that's when you start to see the disparity. And again, why is that? Where does this, mindset come from? Again, it's not everywhere, but it's a lot of places. It is a lot of places, and it's a global situation. So, solutions. A lot of people ask me, so Jay, what's the solution? We have to begin to prioritize educating ourselves, and really not being afraid of the ugly sides of some of this history that's out here that people want us to ignore and sweep under the rug and act like it didn't happen or act like it's old news, when it's just rebranded itself, it's crafted itself differently. So you can have an entire population of people who are one ethnicity or series of ethnicities, but the same skin complexion, but the people who control everything are still the imperial powers. That's still the case. I tell you that when I've been around different parts of, just make sure that's good. Okay, that's all right. When I've been around different parts of Africa, you can kind of tell, because even when it comes to the imperial education system in Africa, you still see the same dynamics where the colonial powers are the ones who control the educational system, what the people are taught. That's why so few people really understand the depth of colonialism and imperialism. And that's why I've run into people and they're like, oh, that's old news. We don't want to talk about that anymore. And I'm saying, well, yeah, it's not the same as what it used to be 200 years ago, 150 years ago. It's just rebranded itself, and you're still in the same economic position as you were then. You might have more money now, but when you still look at the disparities, the economic disparities, it's still the same. They're still controlling everything. They still control the ports. They still control the airports. They control the visa system. They control whatever is going on. So understanding this is important so you know how to navigate. So many people are complaining about what's wrong, but they're looking at, they'll say, well, it's these corrupt African governments that are doing this. It's the corrupt leaders. Well, who do you think is controlling the corrupt leaders? So it's a perfect deflection. I mean, think about how brilliant this is. You get people, you manipulate people in such a way that they blame themselves or they blame their leaders, but you're still pulling the puppet strings of the leaders, because the leaders are like, hey, I want my position. I want my piece of the pie too. So I'll be the one. I'll volunteer to sell out on the people. I'll get up there and say what they want to say. They'll give me a pass because I look like them, or they'll give me a pass because I come from their hood or I come from their ethnic group or whatever. I'll give them a pass because of that. So the person behind the scenes said, well, look, we'll make sure that you have all of this, the military support you need, the resources you need. We'll create a nice legacy for you, and you can do that. We'll give you the recognition that you need, Negro. That's what they do. That's how they do it. That's how they lay that thing down. And so, again, the people who speak up are the ones who are deemed as bitter and angry and upset and all those kinds of things. But those are also the ones who somehow figure out how to navigate around these things going on around. So it's like, well, no, y'all upset and angry and all this other kind of stuff. No, it's not. Well, first of all, no one should be complacent when it comes to discrimination and injustice and unfair practices and these little slick things that go on. So nobody should be complacent with that, where some people are. And people try to put all religious stuff on it to justify it and all of that. Nobody should be complacent or comfortable with the fact that that's how things operate. On the flip side of it, you can't use it as a victim and say, oh, I'm a victim. And, it's like, hey, here are the facts. This is what the deal is. So how am I going to navigate it? This is why I say in my talks, understanding how to manage your resources is so key. If you don't know how to manage your resources, what will end up happening? Jeez. That joker right there, I got him right before he got me. Yeah, he fell out of something. Good God. Anyway, I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but that was, you out here in the woods, they coming for you. So with that though, all I'm saying is now got me thinking. What was I saying? So managing your resources. So once you begin to understand the importance of managing your resources, this is how you begin to position yourself to avoid a lot of these things that are not right and not just and not fair. But it's up to you to be able to have that priority in your life. But a lot of people, what they want to do is they're still aspiring to be like the oppressor. And a lot of people, they can't wait to become in a position to be the oppressor. So they've been oppressed for so long, the minute you give them a little bit of something, the first thing they want to do is oppress the very places and people that they came from. So they're not really looking to be the people who will come out and say, hey, listen, let's get out of this thing. They're saying, no, let me get out here and figure out a way where I can now be the oppressor. But I can look like I'm the person leading the way, leading the charge for people to come out. I'm telling you, this stuff is so crafty and so clever that if you don't understand it, you will be the pawn, you will be taken advantage of, you'll be the person who gets used and manipulated and all those different things that come along with it. I mean, that's I see it every day. So when it comes back to education, and I'll wrap it up with this. When it comes back to education, it is up to you to do your own due diligence, critical analysis, and going deeper. And that's what this channel is all about. That's why I show as much as I can, just putting things out there so people can see it. You can see I'm not running all around Africa scared and running for my life and warlords and all that kind of stuff going on. You can see me in the different places. I'm in the villages, I'm in the malls, I'm among the people, because when you have that visual, now it changes a mindset. The reason why I dropped the knowledge as it pertains to student loans and financial literacy is because if you don't know how to manage your resources, if you don't know how to manage your own resources, you will not be able to progress in a capitalistic system. You will always be on the bottom. You will always be the tail and not the head. You'll always be beneath and not above. I got to get my cadence going right there. I mean, that's what happens. So I encourage everybody to begin to start thinking deeper. Just because you see it on the news, don't let the news spook you every time something comes on. Oh man, they got the monkeypox out there. Now, next thing you know, we running from the monkeypox. Oh, they got this going on. I'm gonna tell you, in Africa, man, I didn't have the anxiety like what I have in America. When I go to America, all this anxiety, all the stuff worrying about getting shot, just the craziness that comes with the territory. But everybody talk about America is the best place in the world. It's like I'm telling you, that gaslighting thing is real. Like, you don't even think about some of this stuff in Africa. But you go back to America, and now and it's like every news report is about somebody getting shot and stabbed and killed, shot, stabbed and killed. Leading the news tonight, so-and-so got killed. This happened, that happened. This person did this person did that. That is what, if you just sit and look at the news in America, you're like, well, dang. Can we lead with something good? War is happening. Death is happening. Sickness is happening. And this is happening in America. But you hang out in the Gambia, and you out there on the beach, you like, man, I'm good. And that's the beautiful part about it, because you can unplug from the madness. And you can unplug from the madness in America too. But when you come to the continent, and you sit back and you say, wow, I can unplug from the madness. If just for a minute, I can unplug. And that's why a lot of people love it. That's why I encourage people to go see. Go see for yourself. Sit out on those beaches and just chill. And just some of the most peaceful places. Now, if you want to go look for madness, you can go find it. If you want to go look for it. But it's not bombarding you 24/7. And that's key. And that's where the education comes in. So anyway, last thought, do not trust the oppressor and the oppressive system to be your only source of education, because there's no way in the world the oppressor is going to want to give the keys to the kingdom to the one that it systemically has already planned to oppress. So just keep that in mind, and you know what to do. Subscribe, like, share, as we keep dropping these gems all over the world and letting people know the gap between the African diaspora in Africa is closing. And it's a knowledge gap, it's a cultural gap, it's a language gap, it's an economic gap, and it's closing. And as more and more people start waking up to the game that has been played, they will be able to see and position themselves accordingly. Oh, dang, I thought I was ready to wrap up. Okay, here's the last thing, for real. What we also have to stop doing is idolizing the Western educational system. Meaning, once we put it on a pedestal and we say that it's supreme, then, you know, that's it. You know, once we say that the Western educational system is supreme, then that's the end of the conversation. And you know, everybody says, okay, at that point, it's supreme. Use it for what it's worth. Get the degrees, get your STEM degree, get your engineering degree, get whatever degrees you need to get. But recognize, especially when it comes to financing this stuff, if you pick the wrong major, you can stay broke for your whole life. You pick the wrong one, you can have all the degrees in the world. But if you don't have resources, you just got a piece of paper on the wall and bragging rights. But there are other people out here who don't have any piece of paper on the wall, but they got paper in their bank account. And they can build things and they can do just as many things because they understand the twofold aspect when it comes to education. So all I'm saying is when it comes to our children, yeah, we want them to get good grades, but take it a step further. Give them exposure, let them see the world, let them see some things, show them let them learn some non-European languages. Sure, if you want to, you know, they can get some European languages since that's the way the imperial system is, and to give you more of a leverage, but also teach them some indigenous languages so they can learn that as well. But there's so many other things that you can do. Just understanding that education is not just one component, has many components. And when we begin to embrace that, we become more well-rounded people. We become more well-rounded people, and we're not so easily exploited. We're not so easily taken advantage of. And that's what's happening with a lot of people. That's what's happening. All right, that's all I got. I'm done. All right, like, subscribe, share. Maximum Impact with Jake Cameron. Talk to you soon. Don't forget, 24 for 24 is coming up on June 18th, and you get 24 videos every hour for 24 hours. And I'm going to be dropping content from all over Sierra Leone, Togo, Benin, Ethiopia, Tanzania, South Africa. I'm sure I'll drop some more Ghana in there. Where else? Senegal, the Gambia. So you'll get a whole bunch of videos from all over. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon. Take care. Be safe.
Open up your eyes and see all the fun and mystery. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny. From the mountains to the shore, so many things to explore. Take an African adventure with Darren and Destiny.
The Adventures of Darren and Destiny. And Darren and Destiny are twin brother and sister, and you go on their adventures throughout the African diaspora, meaning so African diaspora destinations, primarily focused in Africa, but we go to South America, we're going to go to the Caribbean. Their first book is going to take you to Ghana, and then we're going to go on a safari, and from there we're going to go to Ethiopia, and then we go to Salvador, Brazil. And what the goal is to be able to inspire curiosity in the continent of Africa, in our children from a very young age, and to really tell a more accurate story. Most of our children are exposed to negative images, late night infomercials about how bad things are, everybody's sick, everybody's poor, everyone's uneducated, but that's simply not true. So what Darren and Destiny and their family do is they go to different African destinations. They are learning about these different places. You're beginning to see positive images, but still telling the truth. I mean, that's the important thing, to tell the truth about some of the things that have occurred. But it's all done on a children's level so they begin to understand it. And it begins to pique their curiosity. They begin to learn more. And hopefully one day they will want to explore and visit the continent of Africa and its many countries. There's just so much that Darren and Destiny are able to do, and as they're doing it, it's like they begin to open the minds of a new generation, and they don't get bombarded and indoctrinated with negativity. They're actually able to see positivity and inspiring images and messages about the African diaspora, as well as those who are still indigenous to the continent of Africa, and they begin to learn more and just see things differently. So I'm excited about introducing the Adventures of Darren and Destiny.